What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Eye Test, where we simplify your process as a fantasy football manager. I'm here with Bobby Amendola. We are Paulless today as he watches the Orioles get spanked in a baseball game. But we are focusing on the NFL draft that is just one day away. And you know what else is one day away? The Eye Test live watch event for the NFL draft. We will be going live starting at 8 p.m. EST, and we will just be chopping it up. It's probably going to last maybe an hour or two. We're going to be having a couple drinks, enjoying our time, and we're just going to be reacting and predicting the draft picks that come about on that wonderful first round, which, let's be honest, Bob, we really don't know what's going to happen. It seems like there's some years where we kind of have a pretty good idea of where the number one quarterback's going to go, at least. And we're a day away, and we still don't know who's going to be the first quarterback taken off the board. There are rumors swirling everywhere.
Yeah, I think it's a good bet that Bryce Young's going to go to the Panthers at 1, but after that, it's open. So there's talk of C.J. Stroud falling out of the top 5. There's talk of Will Levis going in the top 5. There's talk of him falling out of the first round. So it's going to be chaos, and I can't wait to especially go live and just to watch it. It's going to be so exciting.
Yeah, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn those notifications on. That way you get a notification when we go live. You can tune in for a couple minutes. You can tune in for the whole show, but make sure you share this information with all your friends so that you can get some extra entertainment out of the NFL draft. Let's go ahead and start off with, I'll kind of brief what we're going to be going over today. Me and Bob have looked over some mock drafts that have been coming around over the last couple days. And there have been some wild ones. There have been some pretty realistic ones, but we really focused on some commonalities that we've noticed throughout these mock drafts. So we're going to be talking about landing spots for Anthony Richardson, Bijan Robinson, Jackson Smith-Jigba, Jordan Addison, and Hendon Hooker. So let's start off with Anthony Richardson here. We have seen a lot of rumors that the Titans are going to be trading up to get their quarterback of the future, which says a lot about how they feel about Malik Willis. Bob, let me ask you this. If the Titans move to number 3 and they were to draft Anthony Richardson, what does that mean for him as a fantasy quarterback?
Well, as you know, John, I'm not in on Anthony Richardson personally, but I think even though I'm not in on him, if he gets drafted at number 3, that tells you that he's probably going to play sooner rather than later. The draft capital is going to be there, as opposed to maybe him getting drafted in, maybe the back end of the first round or the early second round. If a guy is getting drafted in the top 5, he's going to play sooner rather than later, regardless of if he's a project quarterback or not. Now, I think Tennessee would be wise to trade up and draft C.J. Stroud if he was there at 3 and not Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
But if we're assuming that C.J. Stroud is off the board at that point and Houston takes him, I would probably go with the upside of Richardson as opposed to Will Levis.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. I think draft capital plays a very pivotal role in Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. And it seems like the Titans are going to make some type of splash in that on Thursday night. I mean, the rumors are swirling that Tannehill wants to get traded, and they're open to trading Henry. So I'm wondering if that would be a move that they make during the draft, just like they did with A.J. Brown last year during the draft. So it seems like the Titans are down to do those types of moves. We'll see if Anthony Richardson becomes the Titans quarterback.
They should be making a move. I mean, Tannehill's fine as like a stopgap now, but he's not even what he was a couple years ago. So now I think is the time for the Titans to draft someone, because regardless of your opinion on Malik Willis, he showed that he's really not it.
Oh, yeah.
The eye test tells you that he's not it. So if you just want to cut bait and move on, draft someone else, now's the time to do it. Why wait when you have already a decently established team in Tennessee,
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the most interesting running back in the draft. That's Bijan Robinson. Lots of mock drafts saying that he's going to the Eagles. And then over the last couple days, I mean, there tons of information swirling around with Bijan where NFL teams are making sure that the Eagles don't get Bijan, or they're fearing that the Eagles get Bijan, which makes me think that maybe they would make some type of move just to keep Bijan from the Eagles. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but something that we saw, and I think this is a pretty realistic scenario, would be Bijan going to the Falcons at the 8 spot.
Hmm. I personally think that Bijan is going to go to the Falcons at number 8 just because of Arthur Smith. He knows how to run the ball, showed it in Tennessee. I'm not going to say he made Derrick Henry, but he played a part in making Derrick Henry who he is, and that's part of the reason he got the job in Atlanta. Tyler Algier was really good last year, surprisingly. So, with already the weapons they have on the outside, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they drafted him at 8, and I expect them to draft him at 8. And just imagine how formidable that offense will be. It's kind of crazy to think about. But going on your point to the Eagles, I do believe also if he's there at 10 and he gets past the Falcons, I do think the Eagles will draft him. I was watching Joel Klatt and Colin Cowherd's mock last night, and Joel Klatt's whole idea for the Eagles taking Bijan at 10 was just to, you gave Jalen Hurts the money, so now it's time to surround him with as many weapons as possible. You know, they already have good weapons on the outside. They had Miles Sanders leave. I don't think you want Ken Gainwell or Rashad Penny to be your RB1, even though the Eagles have been known to have a committee of in the backfield. But if they get Bijan again, yeah, it would be very scary.
It certainly would. And very rare do you see a Super Bowl contending team be a top 10 pick. So they certainly have the luxury. Plus, they have another pick at the end of the first round. So the Bijan landing spot is certainly interesting. I know everyone's going to be on the edge of their seat hoping
You
that
mean
Bijan's on their team next year.
you mean
Um,
you're gonna
yeah, oh,
be
yeah.
on the edge of your seat?
I am going to be going crazy once the 8 spot comes around. Let's talk about the most interesting wide receiver that everyone is hype about is Jackson Smith Jigba. Now, people think that there's a chance that he could be cracking the top 10. In fact, I can see Atlanta drafting a wide receiver like that too to complete the other side of Drake London. But a lot of mock drafts that we've seen was the Packers getting him, especially now that they've just moved up 2 spots after the Aaron Rodgers trade, or the Texans at 12, Bob. So between those two teams, Packers or Texans, where do you think is the best landing spot for JSN? Let's think fantasy wise.
Fantasy wise, I think the best landing spot is the Texans, but there's a huge asterisk next to that, and that's if they draft CJ Stroud at 2. College teammates, they already have chemistry, and giving your future franchise quarterback a guy that he already played with and a very formidable wide receiver right off the bat. You've seen that recipe in the past with guys like Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, and it's worked out pretty well. I think that would be the best landing spot for him personally from a fantasy perspective. But I also would like the Packers landing spot because they, like you said, they officially moved on from Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love is going to be their starting quarterback. I'm personally not sold as on Christian Watson being a wide receiver 1, and Romeo Dobbs kind of disappointed last year too. So if they could get Jackson Smith and Jigba at 13 now, I think he could still be very good on the Packers, and he'd kind of be like a security blanket for a first year starting quarterback like Love.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, Watson's value certainly got boosted because of all the touchdowns he scored.
Yeah,
That's not going to happen every year. But
no.
what JSN can bring to the table is a bunch of receptions and touchdowns too. He's a certain deep threat, red zone threat also.
He's underrated, honestly. Like when the offseason first began, and I started focusing more on the rookies and stuff like that. My whole idea in my head was JSN is just like a slot guy, but it turns out he's really good all over the field. So he could easily be a wide receiver 1. He just may not have that traditional look of a wide receiver 1.
All right, let's stick to the wide receiver theme here. The Bills certainly need a wide receiver. Well, let's just say Stephon Diggs needs a second receiver so
Yes,
that
he
he's
does.
not carrying the team on his back. We know Gabe Davis is not it. That is someone who does not pass the eye test. So it seems like in the late 20s, we're certainly going to see a lot of teams look for a wide receiver to draft because a lot of playoff teams are just one wide receiver away from being that next contender for possibly a championship. Jordan Addison, Bob, I know we've all said that he certainly passes the eye test, but do you think the Bills is a realistic and a positive landing spot for Jordan Addison?
I think it is a very realistic, and I think it would be one of the better landing spots for him in the draft because you already have Josh Allen there. You don't have to be the wide receiver one because Diggs is there. They have two running backs who I'm not totally sold on, but it's a respectable backfield with Damian Harris and James Cook. And I know I told you this earlier when we were off camera, but Jordan Addison could come in and fill that Cole Beasley role of the slot guy and kind of the security blanket that Josh Allen had when they were even better than they were in 2022, I believe. Or no, it was 2021 when they blew like that lead to the Chiefs in the championship game. So I think that would be very good for Jordan Addison. He could learn under Diggs, and there's not going to be a lot of pressure on him. All he would have to do is kind of just work out of the slot. And hopefully Gabe Davis could show up this season as well, and there'll be even less pressure on him. But I would love it from a fantasy perspective, especially if he's playing primarily from the slot. It would be a PPR dream.
Does it do any damage to Stephon Diggs' value?
I don't think so. I
Me
think
neither.
I think Stephon Diggs has his role. He's solidified as the wide receiver one in Buffalo. And although I do like Addison, he's not someone that jumps off the page for me. I don't think he has that wide receiver one upside. Can he eat into Stephon Diggs' targets? In theory, a little bit, sure. But I just don't think he's that caliber of receiver.
Okay. And then last but not least, we'll finish this one off here. Seems like Hendon Hooker is climbing up people's draft
I'm
boards.
huge on Hendon Hooker.
So am I.
Huge.
Looks like he's been not just going up on draft boards in dynasty mock drafts and those types of rankings, but NFL also. It seems like Hendon Hooker may get drafted Thursday night. And there's teams that could be trading to the back end of that first round. The Eagles are open to trading the 30 pick. The Chiefs are probably open to trading out of the 31 and, getting multiple later picks. So let's say that the Eagles trade their number 30 overall pick and the
Hmm.
Seahawks were to get it. It looks like we're seeing a mock draft here where Hendon Hooker could be a Seahawk playing behind Geno Smith. Would that we can both agree that's a good landing spot for Hendon
Yeah.
Hooker to play
Yeah.
behind a veteran like Geno. Does that make you want to draft Hendon Hooker, say, in the late first round of your dynasty draft? Or because he's going to be a backup for a year or two, you might want to wait to see if he falls to the mid second?
I think a lot of it depends on the context of your team, of course. If you can afford to have, your third quarterback wait a year or two for him to play, then I'd say pull the trigger. But it depends, and it also depends on how much you like him. Me personally, I like him a lot. If he landed in Seattle, I would be very tempted to draft him towards the end of the first round of dynasty rookie drafts. I like him a lot, but again, it really just depends on the context of your team. But I think Seattle is probably the best landing spot he could possibly go to. Already a pretty well established team around him. And even though Gino got the extension, let's be honest, he's not going to be their starting quarterback for, even half a decade.
Yeah. No, I would give him this year, and then we're probably look because it was a 2 year extension, and there's probably
Exactly.
some type of opt out after 1 year. So probably just going to give him 1 year, and then if they were to cut him, it wouldn't be that much of a hit.
But even Seattle would be a great landing spot, and I know we've talked about this as well. Another great landing spot I would love for him. It'd be a little higher than pick number 30, but it's the Vikings taking him at pick number 23. They've been rumored to be looking to move off Kirk Cousins because he's in a contract year. He's already been with them for long, hasn't really gotten them over the hump. So them drafting Hooker at pick number 23, having him wait a year, like come back from injury and then be ready to play next year with Justin Jefferson. Maybe Dalvin Cook won't be there next year, but KJ Osborne's pretty good. They'll probably draft another weapon at some point
Mm-hmm.
in this draft. So another really well established team that I think would be really good for Hooker.
Yeah, I think the Vikings could certainly be one of those teams in the mid 20s that are looking for a wide receiver, possibly
Mm-hmm.
Quentin Johnson or Zay Flowers. So that's what we're thinking here. That does it for our, what will we call this? Landing spots predictions, I guess.
I don't really know. Not predictions, but like speculation.
Yeah, speculation.
Draft rumors, pick rumors.
Pick rumors. Okay, I like that. Because at the end of the day, we don't really know what's going to happen on this draft tomorrow night. It's going to be absolutely crazy. We can't wait. Don't forget while you're watching the draft to tune into our YouTube channel where we will be going live, having a prediction, reaction, just chopping it up, talking
Having some
sports.
fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We're not going to have anything planned. We're just going to go live and we're just going to let it rip.
Yep, like we always do. That's all we do on the eye test. We just let it rip.
Yes, we do. And we appreciate everyone listening to this episode. If you like this, go ahead and press the like button. Comment down below, where is Bijan gonna go? We want to know now. Extra points if you say Philadelphia, -1 point if you say Atlanta. But again, guys, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, where we put out multiple types of content to keep you guys engaged during the season. Thank you. Everyone have a great night.
Peace.
See you Thursday.